Okay, City Rooster, Rabbi Kesner.
Yeah. So, Robert Techna, what's
Yes.
going on with yourself tonight?
Huh?
What's going on with yourself tonight?
Uh, Being enlightened by you.
Okay, so got my papers here and everything.
Okay.
So, tonight's main agenda is about telemarketers. Okay,
Miss telemarketers?
how can you miss what you still have?
Yeah.
Telemarketers. Okay, telemarketers, we know what they are, but we don't know what they do. And what
Well,
I mean by this is because
let's
nobody's
if I define what they are. Let's give me the definition.
Okay, telemarketers are salespeople over the telephone, whether legit or not. It's
Yeah.
as simple as that. We've had them forever. And like all other salespeople, they make an art of everything. Everything has to be an art to them, it has to be a science. The science of deceiving people into buying something you know they don't want.
I studied cults and brainwashing, and it's considered that the biggest societal use of mind control is advertising. And salesmen, marketing, like telemarketers. They know psychology. They try to, brainwash you into buying what they're selling.
Well, you can use the word psychology, but it's not brainwashing. Brainwashing is what you do to somebody in the learning process when you teach them something you know that is wrong to learn. Okay. That's brainwashing. Telemarketing, you don't learn anything. There's
Well,
no,
the term for called coercive persuasion. I think that's sometimes one things advertisers, maybe telemarketers use.
this is exactly, I'm glad you said that because this is exactly why I want to explain why that type of thinking is a terrible defense against telemarketers. People deal with telemarketers terribly.
Um,
And they go thinking what you're thinking. Okay. You're a common American, and a lot of common Americans, whether they're smart or not, you have to use insight. Now, having a lot of experience with telemarketers, I've made my share of mistakes and found out a lot of things. First of all, telemarketers are not your friend. They're never your friend.
mm,
And what is one big mistake we do with telemarketers that we should never do?
we don't hang up on them as soon as they call.
That's right. Too many people hang up on a telemarketer. Now, when you and I, and a lot of people, if you're older than Generation X, millennials may remember this. Generation X remembers this. Baby boomers, Generation Y, but not Generation Z, would remember how when you were in high school, the macho men, not all men, the macho men who couldn't take no for an answer from a
Uh,
woman, they'd go up to a woman and they try to show their stuff, be all macho and everything and say all kinds of fancy lines. And then later on, you would hear them say the stereotype, if a woman doesn't say no, it's as good as saying yes. Hey, you ever hear that? You probably heard that a lot.
yeah, yeah. A lot of women
Okay.
complain about that.
We're going to take that principle and we're going to put it towards telemarketers. When you
Okay.
take the phone, you just hang up the phone on them like that.
Uh-huh.
They don't take no for an answer either. So if the callee does not say yes, we'll just try again. That's their stereotype. So just like we had friends that have always made women what they want them to be because they couldn't take no for an answer, and then they found out that the woman was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's what they do with us. If you hang up on a telemarketer, the message you're saying to them is the one they want to interpret. Okay. I can't talk to you about it now. Call me back later and I'll give you my undivided attention.
Yeah.
In their mind, you're giving them a promissory note. So when you hang up on a telemarketer, it's not all over. A live telemarketer, an automated telemarketer, there's a difference. There's two ways to handle each one. Okay, actually, one way to handle each one, two types of different telemarketers: the automated telemarketer and the live telemarketer. The elevated telemarketer was programmed to just simply advertise the product and record everything you say, and then just get information from you. It does not know how to manipulate you. AI is a scammer's best friend, like a double play is a pitcher's best friend. But AI is a scammer's best friend because AI hasn't been working out very well. The only thing AI has been improving the lives of are scammers and corrupt people. Okay, AI is made to destroy lives. It's not made to improve our lives. We have technology for that. AI is a residual of technology, and it's the residual of technology that's designed to destroy lives. That's all artificial intelligence is.
Well, there's been a whole, subject even on the news about the dangers of AI being misused.
Well, we're going to get into that in another thing, but right now we're talking about telemarketers. The automated telemarketer, you don't hang up on it, you let it run its course and say what it wants to say. Okay, whether it's a man, whether it's a automated man or automated woman. Okay, let it say what it wants. If you have the time to tell your mother or your sister or your friend or somebody, look, I'm on my way out, I don't have a lot of time right now, you have the time to let them say the 2 or 3 sentences. Now, I'm going to say something here, and I'm not going to say it because I'm offending people. With all the little things to get rid of a telemarketer, the best way are 2 simple words. Fuck you. Now, I'm not being funny and I'm not being nasty. Now, you'll have plenty of rabbis and ministers and priests and some other formal people that say, wait a minute, there must be a better way to do that. I can't say fuck you to a telemarketer. All you're saying, you're not saying it to people, you're saying it to the machine. Now, I dare anybody to complain that they hurt the machine's feelings. You want to get it? You want to get a handkerchief for a machine that made it dread its tears? Maybe it'll be like the Tin Man in the Wizard of Oz, and it'll start to cry and make itself rust.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, basically, when you say "fuck you" to an automator, you wait till after it speaks its speech. You wait till after it says everything it's got to say. It's going to end.
Yeah.
And then when you say fuck you, it goes into a field. Like when you fill out fields on a form, the square boxes. In an audio, the silence is the field. So when you say fuck you to a machine, an automated telemarketer, it doesn't understand it because that phrase was not programmed in there. And therefore, since it can't understand the caller, it doesn't want to call the caller again. And you get rid of that.
Yeah.
So if you have small children around, basically you can tell your children, I didn't really say that. I was just saying luck for you or lollipop or that sort of thing. You can tell your children, you don't want your children to hear it, but fuck you is the best thing to say to an automated machine telemarketer.
Yeah.
Okay? So if priests or rabbis or ministers, if they can find a nicer or more prudent way to get rid of an automated telemarketer, I take my hat off to them. I'll take my yarmulke off to them if I were to wear one.
Maybe a nicer 2 words to say would be up yours.
Yeah, but the machine understands that. The whole idea is you don't is not to you're talking to a machine. We're starting with machines. Before we get to live telemarketers, we're getting with machines. You're talking to a machine. You're screwing up the machine. You're screwing up its audio because curse words are not programmed in the machine. It doesn't understand it. If you were to take a cell phone and you had Siri or Alexa, those are the most common voice recognition on the phone.
Yeah.
And it says, "What can I do for you?" And you say to Siri, you say, "I want some fucking pizza from somebody who can cook the shit right." Siri will say to you, "I don't understand your quest." You're screwing it up. So the automated telemarketer who you really, really want to get rid of,
Yeah.
just simply say, "Fuck you." Don't say F you. It understands F you because they're letters. Say the words. Say the words. Actually, this is not a curse word because fuck comes from the German word meaning freaking, which means to strike. And most rabbis know German because they know Yiddish, and Yiddish is a combination of German and Hebrew.
Right.
So basically, they'll know that. So fuck you is a term that will screw up the machine. And then you get rid of the machine. Now, there may be other machines that come around, but they're not going to sell you either. But hanging up is a terrible idea. Never hang up on a machine or a live telemarketer. Now,
Right.
a live telemarketer, okay, this is how we approach it. First of all, the live telemarketers have audio set at their side. They have a pair of headphones on, and they have an audio feature inside the headphones that records everything you say. So when they say your call's being recorded, that's the truth. So there are things you never say to a live telemarketer. Okay, first when a live telemarketer calls me, I you always remember you don't give out any information about yourself.
Right.
Just like you probably heard, since you know about criminal law, Robert, you know that in a court of law, the burden of proof is on the plaintiff. Well, the burden of identity is on the caller.
In a criminal or civil trial, which?
Criminal. It
Yeah.
could be for civil. It could be for civil trial too. But the point is,
Burdens
the
on the
burden of proof is on the plaintiff in court.
prosecution. Yeah.
So with a live telemarketer, when they ask you questions, they want to get information about you. They want to confirm information about you that they stole. And if they can't confirm it, then they don't know that they stole it. So if you don't confirm it, they don't know that this is actually the right information. So the burden of identity is on the caller. That includes telemarketers. Live telemarketers, when they call you and they ask, for example, is this Robert Techna?
Say no. I'll say no.
No, you don't say no. See
Oh.
that? See that? That's a big mistake because when you say no, you're confirming information. So when they ask, is this Robert Techna? You say to them, so I'm glad you mentioned that. You say to them, who am I speaking with?
Uh-huh.
And they say you're speaking with someone, and you let them tell you as much as they can.
Uh-huh.
And you give them the runaround about information. You be really fussy, and still you don't tell them, but you're not going to tell them yes or no.
Yeah.
You're just going to say things like, why should I tell you who I am? And why would you want to know? Things like that.
Mm.
And when they call to ask for information, you say to them, this is the best thing you can say to a live telemarketer. I told you the best thing you can say to an automated telemarketer.
It's fuck you.
That's right. And you wait to them to lie now because if they're talking while you're saying it, that means that the field is not open. When
Uh-huh.
you talk into the field, when you say fuck you, it records that and it screws up their information. But with the live telemarketer, the best thing you can say to them,
Is what?
I don't give out personal information over the phone to people I don't know.
Well, what if you say, "Hey, I'm a serial killer. I know your name," and
No,
we're
you don't do that. You don't do that. See, a lot of that backfires. That sounds very funny and sounds great, but here's the thing.
uh,
Telemarketers have a way of reporting people to law enforcement if they think there's danger. So if you say I'm a serial killer, don't
yeah,
be surprised if the FBI is kicking down your door 2 days later.
yeah.
Okay. Don't, even for a joke. It sounds funny. It sounds cute. People do it.
I know the name of your sister. I'm in love with her, and I'm coming to date her.
No, that's not going to work because then they'll report you for attempted rape.
Oh, yeah,
Remember, the call is being recorded and
yeah,
they're going to record what you say. When you say, I don't give out personal information to people I don't know,
yeah.
you're screwing up a live telemarketer's day. You're making them very miserable. You're giving them a sense of hopelessness. Okay. Never, never, never. And too many people do this even when they think they're not. Never say the word yes or anything that means the word yes. Such words are okay, fine, affirmative, any word that even means close to yes. So when they say, how are you doing today?
What
You
should I
might think, what would you say if I said, how are you doing today? And I'm a telemarketer.
say? Fine, good.
That's wrong. That's
Which,
bad.
which, I-
Fine, and good mean yes. Because if somebody were to ask you, Mr. Techna, I'd like to sign you up for $300 worth of insurance that I think will benefit you in your old age. And you say, fine. They
uh,
record that as yes. See, all the little tricks here. So when somebody asks you, how are you doing today?
what
If
should
you don't know them and you think it's a telemarketer,
I
you say, what can I do for you?
say to them?
You say to them, what can I do for you?
They're going to say, "Buy my product."
Let them say, buy my product. Let them ask you to have sex with them. It doesn't matter. If you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it.
Right.
If you have your way. But you got to remember, these people are very big tricksters. They'll do anything to get you to make it sound like you agree with them. So don't ever use the word yes or any word that means yes. Don't use
Nothing in the affirmative.
affirmative means yes.
Right.
Okay. Do you remember Lost in Space,
Of
the
course.
show?
I've got the series on DVD.
Then you know what the robot said when you asked him a question that resulted in yes.
Does not compute.
No, he said that when he said no, he said that does not compute.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. When when you go into a job interview, they say go in with a good attitude.
Mhm.
When you talk with a telemarketer, you don't have to be nasty,
Yeah.
but going with a negative attitude. You're not going to. You're telling yourself. You don't tell them who you are. You don't confirm information, even if they say they have it. They don't have it, but they want you to think they have it. What they have is information they stole, but are not really sure. See, the thing about people don't know is,
Someone you really hate. Say you're them. Say yes. They get scammed. No, I'm kidding.
well, that's the thing. We have to make sure that we're not kidding when we're on the phone with them because our jokes may be their way of sending law enforcement after you. So, got to remember another big scam of telemarketers is you've heard all this talk about people stealing people's information online. You've heard about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody, nobody can steal confirmed information online because they have to know. If they want to know, they have to confirm with Robert Techna that this is actually Robert Techna for real. You've heard about identity, and you have to prove identity. You have to show ID to get into a government building. Well, you have to confirm ID with them too. And if you confirm it, then they feel we've been successful at stealing this information. But no telemarketer has confirmed information without you.
Uh-huh.
They can't take anything without confirming it. So let's say they read you. The Germans used to do this in World War II. They used to read people's information that they stole. And then they would read it back to you, but they didn't read it back to you to spite you. They read it because they were waiting for you to say, yes, that's my information.
Yeah, yeah. They try
Okay,
they try to set you off balance.
that's right. That's what telemarketers do. That's exactly what they do.
Yeah.
So if they let's say they read you
That's a
some,
form, that's a form of gaslighting, making you off balance
they're
mentally.
scaring you.
Yeah,
Let's say, okay, your social security number has 10 digits. Am I correct?
yeah,
Okay, everybody's does.
right,
At least in this country.
right.
So let's say a telemarketer, and they've done it with me. They read all 10 digits of my social security number. You know what I said to them? I said to them, well, how do you know those digits belong to me? How do you know that number doesn't belong to somebody else? How do you
Yeah,
know where it even came from? I
yeah.
say things like that to confuse them. They say, well, Mr. Kasner, we have it under your name. I said, how do you know I'm Mr. Kasner? I didn't confirm anything to you. She said, well, you need to confirm. See, I don't keep up with all the he's and the she's and the live telemarketers. They're
That's again.
all liars.
If they say you need to confirm again, that's the gaslighting. That's the coercive persuasion, saying, "All right, we already know You've got to do it." They're trying to dictate to you. They're trying to lead you.
A lot of people know that. Here's the problem.
Yeah,
When people will talk about this now, half of all people will say what you just said and know what you just know.
yeah,
But most people, 90%, will fall to pieces when they hear a total stranger reciting their personal information back to them, and then they'll let their emotions take over their common sense.
yeah.
And
That's what gaslighting is.
that's what the whole thing about. People cave to that.
Yeah,
I have had lots of people. I could have easily had my ID stolen by now, but I didn't because I didn't confirm anything. You don't confirm anything, but you don't say things to confirm something. If you say, no, that's not right, you're confirming something. You're helping them out. You
yeah.
don't give them any information.
Fishing. They're fishing for information.
Do you remember the show MASH?
Oh yeah.
Okay. There was a show, and this drove Hawkeye nuts, Hawkeye Pierce nuts.
Uh-huh.
Okay, you remember Hawkeye and BJ?
Yeah.
So BJ basically it was his birthday or something. And remember, Hawkeye was going through that. He wanted to know what BJ stand for. So he asked BJ. He said, I'm your best friend. Why can't you tell your best friend what BJ stands for? BJ said, anything you want it to stand for. Hawkeye
Uh-huh.
slammed the newspaper down on the bed and he said, this is nuts. He even went as far as to go into the Corporal Radar O'Reilly's office, and he went into the folder with BJ's record and find out what BJ stood for. And
Uh-huh.
even the Army had him down as BJ Honeycutt
Yeah.
because BJ wouldn't tell anybody what the B and the J stand for.
Yeah.
So, so Hawkeye basically went nuts with this. He said he didn't even tell the Army. So now Radar was uncomfortable with him going through private records, but Radar was a corporal and Hawkeye's a captain, and a corporal can't tell a captain disallow him this. He can't stop him. He can say you're not allowed to, but he can't actually stop him. He can't physically stop him because he's a captain. I remember later I went to a book signing convention with MASH. I got to actually meet some of the players there. It was a long time ago. I got to meet Alan Alda, who played Hawkeye, Mike Farrell, who played BJ. I got to meet Loretta Swit, who recently passed away, R.I.P. I even got to meet David Ogden Stiers. Larry Linville was already passed away at that point, and so was McLean Stevenson. I got to meet Wayne Rogers, who played Trapper John.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of them. And when I met Hawkeye, when I met Alan Alda, who played Hawkeye, and Mike Farrell, who played BJ, they were talking to each other. So they were just as friendly offset as they are on set.
Yeah.
So I decided I was going to play a little joke on them. And I went up to them and I said, I can tell you what BJ stands for. And they both looked at me. And BJ was looking at me like that. He said, I wanted to know. The writers wouldn't tell us. And he said, well, I can tell you. I can tell you what BJ stands for.
What it stands for.
Hawkeye got on his knees and he said, I'll be your best friend. Just tell me what BJ stands for, please. He was really frantic.
Yeah.
And you know what I said to them?
What?
Anything you wanted to. And BJ got upset. He said, wait a minute, you said you knew. I said, I didn't say I knew. I said I could tell you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of brain schemes that live telemarketers like to pull on you, and you have to be ready for.
It's called gaslighting. So it's a form of gaslighting.
Well, we could call it gaslighting. Gaslighting is not very elaborate for what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Basically, it's a kind of psychology that's used to solicit information out of people's minds.
Yeah.
The FBI tries it. Sometimes they're successful, and sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
Now, usually the secrets for many years of how you can avoid getting manipulated and having people share secrets with them you don't want them to is usually by the criminal element. That's why a lot of criminals got off, because they could not.
What's a criminal element? What does that mean?
A criminal?
No, criminal element.
The criminal element is the type of agenda that criminals go by to make their schemes work.
Conspiracy, yeah.
That's the criminal element. Yeah. So a lot of times in World War II, if you were a sergeant and you were talking to a colonel and you told the colonel, we found this out, and the Gestapo are coming this way and doing this and that, and we captured a bunch of people, and then the colonel asked you a bunch of questions and you told him it was helpful, and then he said to you, okay, thank you, Sergeant Techner, now get out of here. Get out of here and go and do it safely. And you know why he didn't want to share anything with you?
Why?
Because back then people didn't understand the criminal element back in World War II, and they figured the best way for the Germans not to beat something out of you is that you didn't know it to begin with, because the Germans were not very good at knowing what you knew, but they were very good at knowing whether you knew it or not. Yeah. And if you really if you really were serious and you really didn't know, then the German officer couldn't beat it out of you. That's what telemarketers do. But the thing about it is, telemarketers want to confirm things, everything that they want to confirm with you, you know everything they want to confirm. And the whole idea is not.
It's a form of interrogation.
It's even beyond interrogation, because if they can confirm your information, they can use it for lots of reasons. And also, unconfirmed personal information is not very valuable. But when you confirm it, when you use your voice to confirm the information, you just gave that information 10 times more value. You've actually dectupled it Dectupled it 10 times. That's what 10 times means, dectuple. You dectupled that information. You've made it 10 times more valuable just by confirming it. And the thing about it is, when information is confirmed, it gets around a lot faster. And then you got a real problem. But if you never confirm your information, you don't have to worry about LifeLock. You don't have to worry about home equity lock. You don't have to worry about all these companies that say they're going to protect you from scammers and telemarketers.
Yeah.
People are paying a good amount of money for for private, for private locks on
Yeah.
their accounts. They're
But,
paying LifeLock. You know how much they pay LifeLock? They pay LifeLock a fortune. You know what LifeLock says to you?
but,
LifeLock says to you, if somebody steals your identity, we will pay you $1 million and fix it ourselves. But if somebody steals your identity, how are they going to pay you $1 million?
well, they say,
If they had the money.
well, they, LifeLock says, if you subscribe to our service and we fail, we'll pay you $1 million. It's a sales technique. It's a sales technique, and
It's a
that's
sales technique, but do you think they could really pay you $1 million if somebody stole your ID after you signed up with them?
if it's part of their legally binding contract, they'd be legally indebted to do it.
It doesn't matter how legally binding it is. If they don't have the money to pay you, okay, they can find a way to wiggle out of it. They can get their lawyers to wiggle out of it. And if you had your identity stolen, they are actually not liable to pay you any money at all. They're not even liable to give you, they're not even liable for giving you a refund.
It would be falsity in advertising. If they advertise, they will, and that causes you to agree to use their service. And then for what they say they'll pay you $1 million for, it happens and they don't, then they're guilty.
That's just it. That's just it. If your identity is stolen and they know that it was stolen before you know it was stolen, then they're off the hook. They're not liable. You can say you can use all the laws you can to say that they are liable, but they're not. We got to remember the criminal law and civil law that you learned was in a day when people were following the law. People are not following the law anymore, and LifeLock isn't either. Okay, you
Yeah,
have these, you have credit protections, you have VPNs. You know what VPNs do for you?
what?
Nothing.
What's a VPN?
A VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. VPNs don't protect you against telemarketers. They don't keep your they don't keep your email account safe. They don't keep your web account safe. Okay. Anytime you go online, what do they call it? The World Wide Web. And that's who can see it.
Yeah, yeah. Ever since the internet, Google does that. They fish everything about you, what you surf, what you like, what you don't like. And some of these companies like Google, they even sell it and they sell it to telemarketers. That's how telemarketers get your info. They buy
Now,
from
isn't
companies.
Google one of those people that say, "Well, your privacy is important to us"?
Yeah, but it's bullshit.
It is bullshit.
Facebook does that too. They sell the information to telemarketers
Well,
and solicitors.
the thing about it is the VPN companies are just as much bullshitting you, and LifeLock is bullshitting you.
Um,
Everybody who says that they're gonna protect your identity and protect your deed, your home deed, everybody who says that, they all do the same thing. They give this unconfirmed information to telemarketers. If you really want to protect yourself, instead of spending all that money,
um,
don't confirm your information to telemarketers. Play
yeah,
around with them. Be so uncooperative with them and do it in a smart way. Don't hang up the phone on them. Don't
uh,
say no to them. Don't tell them it's true. Don't tell them it's not true. Give them such unconclusive answers. Why do you want to know? What can I do to help you? How do you know that's my information?
Yeah.
You're not saying it is or it isn't.
You'll frustrate them, and they'll know they can't get you to cooperate with them. They'll be frustrated and they'll leave you alone.
When you say to them, when you say to a live telemarketer, I don't give personal information over the phone to strangers
Right.
or to people I don't know, that's the best thing you can do. Most times, they'll actually hang up on you. The ones that don't hang up on you after you say that have a little extra tenacity, and they think that maybe they can convince you that they're not asking you for personal information.
Uh-huh.
You don't go telling them that you know they are. You just keep saying the same lines, the same uncooperative lines. Leave them a dead end. Don't give them anything they can use. Don't confirm anything. Don't fall under the pressure. You could say to me now, oh, well, they're just trying to manipulate me and they're trying to gaslight me. You said that. You sit in your
Yeah.
chair. Most people can sit in their chair and say that. But when somebody calls and they're on the phone with them and somebody asks you and they recite the information to you, they crack under pressure and they say something stupid like, how did you know that? How did you find out that's true?
Yeah, they've been
You
fishing in.
just gave yourself away.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There was an episode of Roseanne. Okay. An episode of Roseanne. You ever watch Roseanne?
I used to, yeah.
Yeah, the first 4 or 5 seasons were good. The rest of it, they jumped the shark a few many times.
Yeah.
And this is before Roseanne should have never come back on the air. That's what made the Connors possible. She should have just left it well enough alone. But the first 5 seasons, well, one time when Roseanne was working at a diner, Becky was at home answering the phone. So, not Becky, I'm sorry, Darlene, her other daughter,
Yeah.
and said and was saying to somebody, Mrs. Connor can't be in for work today because she was trying to pull a trick on her mother.
Yeah.
So he gave the phone over to Roseanne, and Roseanne said to her, "Don't mess with the master." And then Roseanne said to her, "By the way, I know that you and David are back together." And Darlene said, "How did you know?" And Roseanne said, "You just told me."
Uh-huh.
She just told her. Roseanne was taking a guess that Darlene and David were back together. She didn't know. And then
Yeah.
Darlene said, how did you know that? Roseanne said, you just told me. See what
Uh,
you have to be very, very careful with telemarketing. Don't give them anything to know. Be totally uncooperative. Okay? Don't act like any of that information is yours that they read to you. Don't act like there's any information that you have to give to them. Don't tell them you even know anything. Don't even say it's a wrong number because that helps them. Because what they'll do, if you say it's a wrong number, then they hang up on you and they'll dial the same number back and they'll know you were lying to them.
yeah.
Telemarketers have all sorts of tricks. And because we're not a very bright country, we're vulnerable to that.
Yeah.
Marketers, the tricks that they do nowadays, they've been doing for like 20, 30 years. They've been doing it. They've had a lot of experience with it. Some of this basically, I was talking to my father's former law partner. His name is Seymour Detsky. He was talking to me about this. He said, I know you're a little kid, but one day you're going to be affected by all this.
Uh-huh.
So I was playing chess with my brother in the couch right in back of me. He was sitting in the couch right in back of me, and I was sitting across the table from him. We were playing chess, and a telemarketer called.
Mhm.
My brother said, hang up on him. He said, no, I'm going to do better. Okay. So I said, no, I'm going to do better. And I had my hand over the phone so the telemarketer wouldn't hear the stupid things my brother was saying. So I said, I don't give personal information over the phone to strangers.
Yeah.
And the guy hung up on me. I said, Andy, it's still your turn. It boggles the mind how many people get themselves in trouble. And the charity lines, they're telemarketers for charity lines too. People think that a lot of these riots, the news says that the riots are not generic, that they're all organized. That part is true. Saying they're funded by George Soros is not fully true. A lot of the money given for these riots are by telemarketers or people asking for you to give to their charity.
You mean telemarketers are causing riots?
Telemarketers are raising money for these riots.
You mean like Antifa and Black Lives Matter and the pro-Palestine
That's
movement?
right. A lot of days the police don't really spend a lot of time. There's some police departments that spend time on the phone calling people up asking if they donate, but most of the donations, that you hear about on the phone, even though we're giving to so and so cause, we're giving to medical research, we're giving to the fire department, we're giving to the police department, we're giving to the FBI, we're giving to the Trump organization, we're giving to the Cory Booker organization, we're giving to the Gretchen Whitmer organization. We don't want Gretchen Whitmer to be kidnapped again. Remember, your governor was kidnapped. Remember that?
There was a conspiracy to kidnap her.
There wasn't even a conspiracy to kidnap her. It was all made up.
Well,
A
there
whole-
were some far-right extremists because during the pandemic,
It wasn't a far right extremist either. It was all a made up thing. Gretchen Whitmer was trying to raise sympathy so that maybe she could raise money for riots in
well,
Michigan.
there were like 20 people that were they were going to kidnap her, do a mock trial, and then execute her because she was, issuing like stay-at-home orders and things like that during the pandemic. And they were far right-wing extremists, and they, anti-government, and they conspired to kidnap her. It was the FBI went after those
Do
guys.
you believe? Yeah, but do you believe that's all true?
Yes.
Okay, I'm telling you it's not true. The FBI went after the people who are part of the fabricated story. There
Who
was
said it?
there was no conspiracy to kidnap Governor Whitmer. There
But
was
Ken, there was, I mean, there was evidence.
there was no evidence. It was said evidence, but when they did their investigation, they found that this was a hoax. Just
No,
like
they arrested 20 people and sent them to prison for it.
you have to remember, telemarketers are a type of hoax. Telemarketers will get you to believe something you believe is true, and then later on you find it was all bullshit to believe it. While
Yeah,
some things really are true,
law
there
enforcement,
were a lot of hoaxes.
there may be hoaxes, but I mean, when there's evidence, when there's an actual prosecution, I mean, the FBI can't go making up conspiracies that are false.
Who are most of these people in the FBI recruited by? Who are most of the leadership at the FBI recruited by? Joe Biden. That's
Mm,
why they said it was a politicized
oh,
agency at the time.
people are qualified, apply to be agents.
No, the leaders. One of the things you've heard is that there were many good men and women in the FBI, which
Yeah,
is true.
yeah,
But the leadership, they have to follow the leadership. For another way of putting it is, if you have a regime change war, these regime change wars are horrible.
yeah. They're
But
wasting.
basically, it's not the colonels, it's not the majors, it's not the captains, lieutenants. You can't blame the enlisted, certainly. They're all following orders. They're all
Well,
following orders from the top, and it starts at the top.
well, yeah. I mean, when there's since we're talking about the FBI, when there's a known crime or crime is reported, I mean, there's protocol.
The only crime, the only crime, it was the end, were people that were involved in the hoax. And a lot of those people were let go. That's why you didn't hear about anybody being convicted, because it was the Biden administration and they were let go. Now, if it were the Trump administration, a lot of them would be treated like some of the people that worked for Barack Obama. They would have, this was a Russian hoax. And
This was the conspiracy against Governor Whitmer was in 2020 while Trump was still president.
yeah, but you got to remember that a lot of these people were anti-Trump. You have to understand about Trump. Before we get back to telemarketers, which is the main agenda, I'm going
Okay.
to point this out that a lot of this anti-Trump agenda started before the Joe Biden administration. A lot of it started because they were against Trump because he's anti-deep state. He hates the deep state and he's an adversary of the deep state and he's a number one adversary of the deep state. And he opened up, he basically, he's the one that said that the emperor has no clothes.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot, that's why they were doing this. It started with Obama and then it went and the deep state was starting to gain steam. If these people are finally put in jail,
If
then
it,
maybe we will start to get our country. But well, we don't know if they're going to go to jail because the system is broken.
the thing is, like I said, you can only go to jail if you've committed a crime.
But now you can commit a crime and not go to jail unless you're a law-abiding citizen. Do you ever notice that,
Abiding citizen, you don't commit crimes and you can't be arrested and sent to jail.
Robert, if you knew about all the crimes that these telemarketers that we're getting back to here
Oh,
commit? Do you know if you knew about all the crimes, you would think to yourself, these people should have been in jail a long time ago, but they're not. And the reason why they're not is because the telemarketers work for agencies that have lawyers that can find every loophole. Now that the system is broken, now that the system is broken, and it is broken,
uh-huh.
laws don't get followed. The only people that go to jail are law abiding citizens. Illegal aliens don't go to jail for very long. They have to get let out.
Being sent to jail for. There's got to be an indictment that shows a crime to show probable cause for an arrest warrant to a judge.
See, that's what you think. If you're gonna notice that no criminal goes to jail. 40 years ago, if you had gone down, if you were a congressperson or a senator, and you had
Congressman,
gone down to a foreign country to advocate for them to let out one of their violent criminals to come back to your country, you would have been charged with treason. But not today. Not today. That doesn't happen today, even during the Trump administration. And that's why telemarketers get away with what they get away with because they can do a lot of things now that they couldn't do 30 or 40 years ago, even though they have the same tricks. The
yeah,
same tricks.
uh-huh,
So
uh-huh,
that's why. So you can see, you can say, well, the law is the law, and you can't do this and that sort of thing. But the law is only good if it's being enforced. And
yeah,
people are cooperating, but people aren't cooperating. And people are giving in to these telemarketers. When you hear somebody say, for example, the white man is the oppressor and the black man is oppressed. You've heard people say that, right?
Danny.
Okay. Do you realize they really believe it? And they did not learn this only from college.
Uh,
Okay. Colleges teach it, universities teach it.
who's the they? They believe the same.
All these criminals, all these people that are out there trying to throwing rocks and boulders at ICE cars. And there was a member of ICE. There was a member of Homeland Security in New York that got shot in the face for no reason at all. No reason at all. Just because he was working for ICE. He just got shot in the face just because of the badge on him.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can try. You see, the thing about it is, you can try to say, "Well, we're following the law, and the law is this," but you have to remember that there are people that are not following the law. It's the
Yeah.
same, and telemarketers, they're not following the law. Telemarketers are not following the law, and when they get on the phone with you, a law-abiding citizen, they're going to think, "Well, they have everything to lose, and I have anything to gain." And the only way you can level the playing field with telemarketers
Uh-huh.
is by making sure that you don't confirm information, you don't give them the satisfaction, you don't let them know. When they
You-
ask you, "How are you today?" you say, "What can I do for you?" That's the best answer you could say. "What can I do for you today?" Okay.
Yeah.
And then when they start to ask you the first personal question, no matter what it is, no matter how harmless you think it is or how harmful it is, you just simply say, "I don't give personal information over the phone to strangers." That is a very, very discouraging thing to say to telemarketers. But
You know,
people don't say it to them.
yeah,
Well, I
but
say it and a few others do, but not too many.
okay. But you talk a lot about law-abiding citizens being sent to jail. I mean, that could be done. I'm sure they'd file appeals and be let out. That would be a government conspiracy to send law-abiding citizens to jail. That can't be done in the United
It
States.
would be. Well, it would be, and it has been. Let's January 6th, okay? There were over 1,000 people sent to jail after January 6th. And it turned out that there was no crime committed by any of those people.
There
You
was
heard
any,
about grandmas. There were Americans that died in jail. They, there were people, and some of them died because they couldn't get the medical care they needed. There was one guy who was getting cancer treatments. When he was sent to jail, his cancer treatments were over.
you
And
mean,
January 6th is not the first time that's happened.
well, the insurrectionists on January 6th
There were no insurrectionists on January 6th.
had
See,
come.
I don't know what networks you're watching, but there's a reason why these networks are starting to fail. All of them. CBS, NBC, ABC, PBS. PBS, now that PBS and National Public Radio
Uh-huh.
have been totally defended, what are they going to do? They're not
Well,
going to be able to do anything. They don't have any listeners. You know who their listeners are?
well,
There are people that are trying to get into this country and learn English and maybe learn to speak English. They listen to them. They don't exactly know what they're talking about, but they're learning English words. Okay, those people. But
all right.
nobody listens. Do you listen to NPR anymore?
Well, I used to listen to it in my car when I drive around. That's usually when I listen to the news.
How long ago?
Well, I don't drive around as much as I used to, but
How long ago? About 10 years?
I don't know. Yeah, yeah.
10 years. Okay, PBS. PBS was the station. At one point, they could have picked it up off the ground and not have to depend on federal funding, and then donors, outside donors like you and me, and they say that
Yeah.
when they had children's shows on there. Then they fought with the contracts of people trying to renew those children's shows because Sesame Street at the time was very popular. Now it's not so popular. So a lot of times you can go with this propaganda, but I'm
Well,
telling you, a lot of it is a lot different than what you say it is.
okay, I think that we should. If you say some things like there was no insurrection on January 6th, let's offer proof because there's been overwhelming proof that there was an
There's
insurrection.
no, there was no proof. The only proof of something happened. First of all, they proved that there were no cops that died.
There
They
was
all
there was a congressional hearing.
A congressional hearing doesn't mean anything. A congressional hearing is not proof of anything. Ashley Babbitt was shot by a Capitol police officer at a
Yeah,
time
trying to break into.
she wasn't trying to break into anywhere. She was not trying to break into anywhere.
Where was she shot? Where? I mean, where's the physical location? Yes, she was shot by a Capitol officer because she was trying to break into the Senate.
No, she was not shot. She was shot by the Capitol officer. First of all, Robert,
Yes.
okay, she was an ex-Marine. Second of all, she was unarmed. Third of all, she was a foot and a half shorter than Michael Byrd. Okay.
Michael Byrd.
Fourth of all, Michael Byrd had a criminal record and he was still able to keep his badge and gun on the Capitol Police as accordance with Biden administration regulations.
He the one that shot Ashley Babbitt?
He
Who's
was the one that Michael Byrd was the one that shot Ashley Babbitt. He shot her point blank. She was unarmed.
well, she was climbing through a door to try to break into the Senate chamber as
She was not trying to break into the Senate chamber. That's what the propaganda had gone around. She was not trying to break into the Senate chamber. She climbed through a window that was already opened to break up a fight between two people because she's a
where and who were the two people? Where
they were two other supporters that were there. Then they got into a disagreement and the fisticuffs. And as a Marine, it was her nature to try to break up the fight. Now, he shot her point blank. He wasn't defending himself. He shot her. He shot her from 7 feet away, point blank, and she was unarmed.
there was video footage of Ashley Babbitt being shot. And she
There's a lot.
was breaking through a closed locked door in the Capitol building as part of a mass crowd that was trying to break into the Senate chamber to attack the senators who were
She
serving.
wasn't anywhere near the Senate chamber, and she was not trying to attack anybody. Where did you get this information, Robert?
I've seen the video footage. I've seen the testimony, the congressional hearing.
Okay, there was a lot of video footage, and a lot of it was gurgled. But if you notice, there was a lot of video footage of police officers that were escorting people through the Capitol building. And you know what they could be charged with for doing that? They could be charged with entrapment. But they weren't charged with entrapment. They were all let go.
Let me give you the definition of entrapment. The legal definition of entrapment is if the police or law enforcement like, get someone or manipulate someone into committing a crime that otherwise a person would never, by their own will, would never have committed.
That's right, and that's what happened. A lot of those windows were broken by people, by Antifa members that posed as Trump supporters, and they found this out. They knew this. Now you can laugh. It's been a few years now.
Most of them were white supremacists. A lot were outright.
They were not white supremacists, Robert. You have that wrong. You have your information wrong. I don't know how much propaganda you listen to, but you have that wrong. You may want to check that again. You may want to laugh about it and check it again. And since we're done talking about telemarketers, I think maybe we should take a break here because.
Okay, Rabbi Kasner.
I'm not a rabbi. I don't.
All right, Rabbi Kasner.
I wish you wouldn't call me Rabbi Kasner.
You're more of a Hasidic Jew than you're willing to admit.
I'm not a Hasidic Jew, and I'm agnostic. Now, if you're making fun of me because I haven't shaved lately, I can understand that part, but that's probably as close as you're going to get.
Okay.
Speaking of scams,
Yeah.
I want to talk about Malcolm Jamel Warner. So that's the ongoing agenda today. Malcolm Janelle, do you know who he is?
Yeah, he recently died by drowning this past
Yeah,
week.
but do you recently do you know what his most famous character was?
Yeah, on the Cosby Show. He
And
was
what
just,
was his name?
oh, I forgot. That was 30, 40
Theo
years ago.
Huxtable.
You're right, Huxtable. Theodore.
Theo Huxtable. That's right.
Right, Theodore Huxtable. That's what made him famous, that role.
Well, it's not just because I'm. It's not because just because he's famous, because he died one day after Ozzy Osbourne did, and one day before Hulk Hogan died. But you notice I'm not going to focus this on Hulk Hogan or Ozzy Osbourne. Both of them had their different problems, and both of them were in their 70s.
Yeah, Malcolm Jamal Warner, I mean, his death was an accident. Wasn't
No, well, sort of an accident and sort of not. That's why I want to talk about it.
it?
He was 54 years old. Malcolm Jamel Warner died off the coast of Costa Rica.
Right.
He was not with family, even though he traveled with family. But that time of his death, he was hanging out with friends. And some of them were in the water and some of them were on the beach.
Yeah.
And they were having fun swimming around. Now, of course, the nice little popular story is that he was pulled away by a tide. But if he was pulled away by a tide, it would have taken a lot longer to recover his body than it did.
He said he was swimming. There was a sudden current. It pulled him under, and no one could get to him on time. That's how he drowned.
No, that's not how he drowned. That's the popular story, though. But it turns out that a lot of us had found out what the real story was before the propaganda spread. Remember, propaganda spreads fast.
What was the real story?
The real story is it something is what I wrote about a few days before he died, and I had to actually I had to actually make a notation to show people that the story was written a few days before Malcolm Jamel Warner died.
Are you implying he was murdered or something?
He wasn't murdered. Here's what's happening with a lot of people in this country.
Okay.
Now, you don't think hear it happening about too many with celebrities, but obviously it happened with a celebrity. What happened was he was in the water playing with some people, and it
Uh,
wasn't with a tide because he's pretty good with tides. He actually loves the water and he's actually surfed and things like that. And surfers know how to deal with tides. He does not a professional surfer, but he loves surfing.
yeah.
So what happened was he was doing a little stunt, and some of the people were laughing. And shows like the Cosby Show, Malcolm and Eddie, and that sort of thing loves to make people laugh.
Right.
A lot of times, because television is shit nowadays, and basically entertainment is shit nowadays, and you see where Hollywood's gone. So a lot of people tend to amuse themselves, entertain themselves. And because people are more selfish nowadays, they don't think of the consequences of that happens to a person that makes them laugh. So in the case of Malcolm Jamel Warner, somebody was taking a video of him playing with his friends in the pool, not the water, not the pool,
The ocean.
the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ocean, the salt water. I say pool because they're around. It wasn't
Yeah.
really even high tide at that point. But what happened was he was in the water and he was trying to do a little flip out of the water or some sort of that. I didn't get all the details.
Uh-huh.
Um, and when he fell backwards, his head hit a rock and he knocked himself out. And when you're in salt water and you knock yourself out, if you're in any type of deep
Water.
water, you knock yourself out, you go down. And while he was going down, okay, the video was still playing and his friends were still laughing and everybody was a joy.
Yeah.
And then there was a puddle of blood that came to the surface of the water. And then somebody said, and you could hear somebody's voice say, somebody better get help. He's been down there too long.
Mhm.
And they shut the video off. So, by the time they called for help to revive the body,
Uh-huh.
they took his lifeless body out of the water. He was dead. He had
Yeah.
drowned in the water.
Uh,
When you go swimming, make sure you don't knock yourself out while you're in the water.
yeah.
Okay, the rock, it was a large rock sticking out of the water. You know, when you're off coast and things like that, there's
Yeah.
rocks that stick out of the water. You can get
Right.
hurt. You can break an arm on one of those rocks.
Yeah.
Imagine what it'll do to your head. So there was a gash in the back of his head around, I think, this area, somewhere in the back of the head. They identified it. There
Uh-huh.
was a story about it that Costa Rican authorities did not want to address the issue. He was an American, and they figured they would send him back to America and let them deal with it.
Uh,
Well, when he was sent back to America, America didn't deal with it.
oh, he was already dead. You said it when they pulled him out of the water. He was
When
already.
somebody is dead, normally you have an investigation. But the reason why they couldn't do an
If it's
investigation,
homicide, but it's an obvious accident, there's no reason to do an investigation.
that's right. But here's the thing with his friends, okay?
No.
Nobody wanted to come forward to authorities. They were willing to speak on camera, but they weren't wanting to go to authorities. Meanwhile, this video, this
Well,
video that was taken was on Fail Army. Have you ever heard of Fail Army?
no.
Okay, Fail Army is the most famous junk video company out there. It's run by Jukin Video.
Uh-huh.
You can look them up and find out what they do. And then you can go to their page and you can look at some of their videos. If you notice with their videos,
Uh-huh.
people are laughing at all sorts of accidents that happen to people. Some are serious, some are not so serious. But you notice before the outcome of what happened to the person, they cut it short. So basically, that video is going to send in, and
You mean the one of Malcolm Jamal Warner?
that's right. If it hasn't already been sent in, okay? Because the person who took the video admitted that they did this for they couldn't provide this video to the police because they already sent it into Fail Army. When you send a video of an incident into Fail Army,
Uh-huh.
it's no longer admissible evidence because law enforcement can't get their hands on it.
Well, it's if yeah, I mean, if it's part of an investigation and law enforcement needs the video, they've got to get a hold of the video.
Law enforcement, since the defund the police movement, which has very much weakened the police
It's an
and
attack.
their jurisdiction,
It's an attack on law and order.
law
Defund.
and order, that's right. It's a breakdown of it, and law enforcement doesn't have the mustard they have. They don't have the rights to acquire certain video evidence. Surveillance video is a very, 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 very powerful.
Yeah, that's how they caught the Boston Marathon bombers. By surveillance video, security
Well,
camera footage. They caught them in the crowd setting off the bomb and everything.
and you know where that guy is, whose name I can't pronounce anyway. You know where that Boston bomber is now?
Yeah, Draws Zanaev is in the Denver Supermax prison on death row. He got the death penalty. It's going to be
He
executed.
was taken off death row. He's not on death row anymore.
Well, I know there was an appeal to take him off death row, but
And that appeal went through. The
okay.
thing about, let's getting back to Malcolm Jamal Warner. Okay,
Uh-huh.
first of all, this was an apolitical guy, really nice guy.
Yeah, he was
I actually met him. I actually met him at one of those little actors conventions, you know, where people go around, they get signatures. I didn't ask for a signature, but I chewed the fat for him for a couple of minutes. He probably didn't even remember me after that because he saw so many people.
yeah.
So he was a really nice guy. He didn't stick his nose in the air. A lot of people said a lot of nice things about him. His fellow thespians had said really good things about him. His family did. He had one child. He was married once and he had one child,
Uh-huh.
from what I know. And basically, he did have a lot of friends. But a lot of times in this day and age, people are willing to get a good laugh, even if it means at the expense of somebody else's welfare. And
Yeah.
there are many people, I wrote about this before Malcolm Jamel Warner died. I said that a lot of personal injury and death and ample damage to property, okay, has been done to people for the sake of making these stupid videos. If I had my way, and I
You-
don't,
Against people's will that it's being done to.
well, yeah, because
You mean
because
acts of violence are being done to people just so someone can make a video and
well, not violence. They don't intend for damage to happen, and they don't intend for people to get hurt, but they're not paying attention to their safety. For example, there was a situation here in Linden where
uh,
there was a pool party. Now, of course, I got to stay dressed. I said, I can't jump in the pool. I can't swim anymore. I have no thyroid, you know?
yeah,
So, because if I were to go in a pool, I could end up in shock because of the body temperature issue I have.
yeah,
But I was there and they were playing around and there were some kids and that sort of thing. So then there was this one guy, okay, who wanted to show everybody how athletic he was. Now, when you do those diving stunts, things that they do with the Olympics, you have to
yeah,
practice, you have to train hard, you have to learn. This
yeah,
guy figured it only takes a couple of minutes to learn to dive. So he
yeah.
decided to bounce on the board. This was right here in town. Okay,
Okay.
this is like a couple of months ago. I was going to a barbecue. You know how I love barbecues.
Was it something you witnessed or you heard about?
I was right there.
Okay.
And I didn't take the video, but I was right there.
Uh-huh.
And the guy was bouncing on the board. So, and I heard somebody say, do a can opener. And they say, no, do a swan dive. And I heard him say, I'll do what I want. So he jumped up the board and he decided he was going to try to flip, but he didn't really flip that well. So to make a long story short,
Uh,
the back of his head and the shoulder hit the diving board,
ooh.
and he fell on that. He fell on that, and then he fell into the water. Something like what you've seen happen to Fred Flintstone. Of course,
Yeah,
in Fred Flintstone, it's funny.
right.
Everybody was laughing. Well, I don't know if every single person was laughing, but there was a lot of laughter there. And
Yeah.
I heard one person that was next to me, one girl, she said, "Oh, this will be an awesome video to send online."
Oh man, that's nothing to laugh about. The guy killed or drowned
No,
or
he wasn't killed. He got out of the water,
uh-huh.
okay, and he sat down in a chair. And basically one of I think his brother came up to him and said, "Do you need an ambulance? Do you need to go to the hospital?" He
Yeah.
said, "I don't know because I can't even turn my neck." He wasn't happy. He was in a lot of pain. People were still laughing, and I actually heard his brother say, "Will you people shut up? My brother just got hurt."
Yeah.
And a lot of people said, "Oh, you're being a party pooper." So
Yeah.
so what happened? So when the same girl came downstairs with her cell phone, he said to her, "What did you do with that video?" He said, I sent it to Fail Army. They're going to love it. And I might get a little bit of money for it." And he couldn't kick her out because she lived there.
Yeah.
So it was terrible. Now, I didn't have a lot of involvement, but I was observing this. And that's what prompted me to once and for all write this article on Fail Army that you will see on, I put it on Facebook, I put it on Getter, I put it everywhere.
Is it on your City Rooster site?
I put it on, I didn't put it on my City Rooster site. I'll even send you, I don't know if I could, I have to look for it. I actually put it in my archives, but you can go to Facebook and look for it. You,
Something like about an accident like that and taking video for fun, man. That's just Wow.
That's what people are now. People are trying to amuse themselves,
And
and a lot of people are more selfish. And Fail Army is making a lot of business. You just go to Fail Army. Just go
now, is it,
FAILAMRY. I think it's one word or two words. I'm not sure.
does Phil Army pay for these videos?
I
I've been,
don't know what the arrangement is, but there's somebody's making a lot of money off of this.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
I'm sure they make a cut or they wouldn't be doing this. So
Well,
I'm sure there's money in it for them.
that's like the problem with revenge porn. Sometimes people, Pornhub, which is a terrible porn site, people are, taking non-consensual sex videos or using revenge porn, even rapes and videos of, child molestation, and they're uploading it to sites like Pornhub, and there's a big legal problem with that.
Yes. Now you see where I'm going with this. Although Fail Army's not interested in sex, they just interested in a whole bunch of when you
Yeah,
look at a Fail Army video, you look at any Fail Army video, they'll have a whole bunch of cuts of accidents.
it's
And
it's
they cut out the you don't know what happened to the person. You look at it and it all looks really funny and that sort of thing. And that's what they do because people are selfish. And since you brought up Pornhub, I actually posted a link on my site to a person that was trying to start a petition to shut Pornhub down.
there's a
Not likely that they're going to do it.
there's a lot of anti-sex trafficking, anti-sexual exploitation groups that have been trying to shut down Pornhub for a few more than a decade now because it's not a studio. All the porn on Pornhub is user generated, and a lot of it's not consensual. A lot of it's, revenge porn and things like that.
Well, Pornhub is not, people are not trying to shut down Pornhub because of what you just explained. Remember, nudity is free speech. It's the sex part, the
it's
acts of sex, that's not free speech.
a
So,
person being photographed nude or having sex. It's got to be consensual.
well, actually, no.
It's got to
What
be.
has to be what has to be consensual? First of all, what has to be consensual is the act of sex, sexual acts of any kind. There's a difference between pornography and nudity.
But if you're making a video and if you're going to distribute the video, also by law, the people in the video have to consent to it.
Not quite, because here's the thing. Here's the thing. Okay. People pose nude all the time. You have nude statues, places, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. So the human body is a beautiful thing. A lot of us know that. Sometimes it gets misused. But the problem, these sexual sites are by people who think that the human body is for sex only. Now, Pornhub got themselves into hot water, not because they're posting videos, but because there's been a lot of sex trafficking. There's a lot of runaways,
Yeah.
a lot of teenage runaways, and they have nowhere to go, and they have no money. So they get hooked up by Pornhub with a child molester who will take care of them, give them money as long as they give them sex, and they sell their body just to survive. And the parents don't know where they are.
That's one big complaint about Pornhub is it is being used to sex traffic people.
Well, Pornhub is in the business of sex trafficking.
Yes.
That's why it's in the hot water because
Yeah.
there's a lot of other sex trafficking sites. There's a lot of other nude sites. If somebody is nude, they're nude. That's nothing. But if it's the act of sex,
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? So
It has to be consensual, and if it's not, it can be sex trafficking. Sex trafficking is a huge problem in the last 20, 30 years. And Pornhub has been accused of not screening and not verifying the sources.
well,
And
here's the problem. Here's the problem here. Here's what's wrong with this. Everything you're saying, here's what's wrong with it. First of all, you use the word consensual. Consensual nowadays is hearsay. And because there have been so many bogus lawsuits to try to sue people to get money, now
Yeah.
it upstages the real victim. Well, the problem with Pornhub is the same problem with Fail Army, even if they're two different formats. Pornhub is sex trafficking, Fail Army are gag videos. And they don't think about the fact.
Yeah, people might not want to be show their videos, quote unquote, in a gag. They don't want people to see it.
I
Is that
can't tell you. If I can't tell you if Malcolm Jamel Warner consented to this video or not.
yeah? Or the guy who said that was trying to do a flip in the pool, he got injured, and yeah, he might not have didn't want his video on failed army, and
Well, whatever he was doing it because his friends were around him and they were playing and fooling around. So we don't know if he knew he was on video. But the thing about it is, the person who sends the video in, and this is with Pornhub also, they make you agree to certain terms of service. And the terms of service for Fail Army is the same as the terms of service for Pornhub, except, they both say the same thing. Any material you send us, once you send us it, cannot be used for law enforcement purposes. And you are not to receive any money if we have any data to show that you have reported
well,
this
yeah.
incident to law enforcement.
The thing is, if the sites say we're supposed to agree it can't be used by law enforcement, but like with Pornhub, you got a lot of sex trafficking on it. It doesn't matter what the agreement is between the site and the person who submits the video. Law enforcement can still use it if the video or the video being distributed is being done so as part of a crime.
Do you know how many channels law enforcement has to go through to acquire a video from Fail Army? It's actually even harder than getting one from Pornhub, and it's hard enough getting one from Pornhub. They have to go through a lot of channels. If the police have to go through 13 or 14 channels to get through to take a video away from Pornhub.
Yeah.
They have to go through even more channels to get from to get from Fail Army, because you have to remember, in Pornhub, okay, nobody dies. They get into very bad situations. They may contract STDs that may cost them their life, or they may ruin their life, and then they may have to go back to their parents, that sort of thing. Malcolm Jamel Warner.
Yeah. Okay, back to him.
This is what it's about. Malcolm Jamel Warner was a celebrity. He had a lot of money. He was a lot of friends. He had a very good life. And it just ended just like that. 54 years old.
It's a tragedy.
That's right. Does anybody die at 54 years old?
Well,
unless something bad happens?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. People are expected to live, people are living longer lives now. Yeah. Unless
That's right.
Cancer or a sudden heart attack,
Ozzy Osbourne died at 76.
Yeah.
And he had with all his drinking and his smoking and the drugs and everything and his really unorthodox lifestyle.
Yeah.
Plus, and he drank a lot. When he died, it all caught up with him, but not until he was 76 years old. That's not a justice for drinking or smoking.
Osborne did not live a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, it's not a healthy lifestyle. And you're taking the cigarette out of your mouth as you say that.
Yeah, I mean, Ozzy Osbourne was kicking Black Sabbath because he was too much of a drug addict. I mean, that was his original band.
Yeah. But Hulk Hogan had an even more rough lifestyle, because even though he didn't smoke like Ozzy, he did smoke. And even though he didn't drink like Ozzy, although he did drink, his body took a beating, because even though wrestling is 80% fake, it's still 20% real.
What did Hulk
And
die of? What
there
did he
was
cause of death? Do you know what his cause of death was?
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
Well, I don't exactly know. I haven't actually followed this part because I was so focused on Malcolm Jamel Warner, which we're going to get back to. But there was talk that in the past year he was using a walker and he had to sit down a lot. And when he went to the Republican National Convention, was one of his most energetic nights because he was really, really, really hungry to see Trump win because he loves Trump.
yeah.
Hulk Hogan loved Donald Trump. So, and look, you never know where the crazy lifestyle could take you. But if you're a common person,
Yeah.
cigarettes and alcohol do more damage to you than if you're a celebrity. Because if
What'd
you
you,
look at Mick Jagger, he just passed his 82nd birthday.
what'd you just say?
Mick Jagger is 82,
Yeah.
and he's done a lot of smoking and drinking and drugs in his lifestyle. Maybe
Yeah.
it pays to have lips as large as his. Who knows?
Yeah, look at Keith Richards, who was always a big heroin addict, but he's in his 80s now too. Of course,
Keith Keith Richards has more lines on his face than most composition paper.
yeah, I mean, Keith Richards from the 60s, 70s was a huge heroin addict, but he got clean. I mean,
He never really got clean that quickly. But Malcolm Jamel Warner, 54 years old. Now,
yeah,
I'm going to tell you something about him. The Cosby, and I know this from Cosby auditions. Bill Cosby, when he auditioned for his shows, he
yeah,
would never take on people that drank, that smoke, that came from dysfunctional families. So he wouldn't take you and he wouldn't take me because I come from a dysfunctional family and you
yeah.
smoke.
Right.
So, but the thing about it is, he was very well adjusted. He did everything right. He was a good law abiding citizen. And this wasn't, and the only reason why this happened was because of selfishness. Remember, after he went under the water, after he hit his head on the rock, he
Uh,
went down in the water he was down in the water for more than a half an hour before somebody said, he's not coming up. Somebody better get help.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It was
There,
an accident.
I saw the stories. I saw the videos. It was not even on the news. It was not on the mainstream news. You didn't even hear anything about Malcolm Jamal Warner until
Well,
he died.
it was definitely, they just, yeah, said, he was swimming and he drowned or all, but yeah.
If this were the 70s, okay, I'll bet you if this were on the 70s,
Uh,
it would have been a regular story on NBC.
yeah.
Okay. And he would still probably, his life would have been saved at that point.
Oh,
But see, people are not as much in a hurry to save people's lives. Okay. Maybe not everybody wants to kill them, but people are not, your life is not as valuable as it would have been 40 years ago. My life, your life, my life,
well,
anybody's.
you're saying society's value towards the value of life is degrading. People just don't care anymore. Is that what
And
you?
it's not just abortion. Abortion's one example of it. But
Yeah,
look, a famous celebrity died from a fail army video. I mean,
yeah.
she took the whole video in. She took the whole video in, and I don't know if it was even his family.
There's a lot of insensitivity towards people, towards what harms people and what doesn't. I know that for a fact. I've been a victim of that. My career was a victim of people who, didn't regard, my rights and what was important to me. And like I said, that can be done criminally depending on the circumstances. In my case, people have done it to me criminally, so I know what you're talking about.
So we have to understand that Malcolm Jamel Warner, say what you want, say that he was pulled out to a current,
All right.
say that it was a freak accident, say this, say that. But at the end of the day, there are many people, and probably more than before, that know that Malcolm Jamel Warner died from a very preventable incident
Yes, it was
for the
prevent.
sake of a video that got sent into fail army.
Yeah, well, yeah, he died in a terrible accident, and yeah, you
All
know,
for the sake of it, all for the sake of a video, because the main motive when people ask you to do a dare
was
like this, they want to capture it. They want to capture it on video. It's worth the video.
his
There's going
death
to be a lot of people laughing at that video.
his death was very insensitive, with great
Incentivized.
great insensitivity is being exploited. It's no
Yeah,
death.
insensitized is
Yeah,
what you're trying to say.
there's an insensitivity, and it's widespread, and I know it because I've been a victim, of crimes. I've had relatives who've had millions of dollars of their money stolen from them by very selfish, insensitive people. Yeah, that's what causes crime. That's the kind of thing that exploits people. Getting back like to Pornhub and stuff, and the trafficking. These are people who are criminals who only care about themselves, have no conscience. They're psychopaths, they're sociopaths, and they do harm. They harm people, and and if the harm's criminal, as it often is, then that's a crime, and they should be prosecuted.
Well, we say that, but Robert, nobody gets prosecuted because if people got prosecuted, Anthony Fauci would have been in prison
Well,
30 years ago, like he
you-
should have.
you're getting into a conspiracy theory again,
That's
but
not a conspiracy theory. This is the man that invented the stereotype that AIDS was a gay man's disease. And as a result, a lot of people didn't get the help that they needed.
it's first showed up in the gay community. So, but
You know, the only reason, the only reason why you use the words conspiracy theorist is because you don't believe me. And on this podcast, the only reason why the term conspiracy theory is mentioned is because you love it so much, apparently.
Ken, I love you, and you're a genius, and people I know who've seen our videos. You are very bright, but some of your things, claims like Fauci.
Well, I'll tell you something, Robert. You'll find out. If you don't believe me now, you'll find out. Go to Fail Army. Go to Fail Army after this. You go
Ken,
to Fail Army and check it out for yourself.
Ken, Fauci's not a criminal. There was an insurrection on January 6th. Ashley Babbitt was killed because she was trying to break into the Senate chamber to attack the vice president in Congress who were doing their, lawful duty to certify the 2020 election. Okay, so no, I mean, but the point is, Rufford, is that,
Okay, you can say all that, but
okay,
NBC, CBS, and ABC, one day you'll find that they let you down all along.
whether I agree with you or not, you're very, like I said, my biggest thing is doing it to people who don't like talk, and that.
It's not a matter of talk.